Well, hello everyone. It is Saturday night, which means it's time for the weekly gig. Weekly dig, not gig, different things. Um, Jay, I greatly thank you for joining me tonight, despite Persona 5. I know how much that can attract folks' attention and just really suck you in. I'm tempted to buy that, but I do not want to lose 80 hours of my life. Not lose, but I have heard of what that game can do to a person. One second. Silly flare. That's not what it should do. There we go. Ah. So, full transparency. I have my mug, and it's got a little bit of something something in there. It's been one of those weeks. Yeah, it's been one of those things. Whew. Man, busy week. OnCon was fantastic. Great experience. I believe I'll remember that the rest of my life. But the rest of the week was just really tiring. Just work was all encompassing in a lot of ways. I didn't have to like work evenings or anything, but just the, whew, what was going on in the class was just kind of draining. Nothing too crazy, but a lot of different things going on. And then had to package up and ship all the giveaway stuff for the charity auction. Just boxing all that up and shipping it out and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't hard. It was just a lot of fiddly little work of making sure that this address goes on this box and keeping track of everything. So glad to do it. Again, not a big problem, but just one of those things that was a little more intricate than I thought it would be. There's new content in the remake. Gotcha. See, it's tempting now. You're tempting me. But Final Fantasy VII Remake's coming out next week, and I got that on pre-order. So that will be my thing, definitely. Maybe I'll do like a reaction stream of that. Set everything up for a live stream of Final Fantasy VII. That might be kind of fun. I played the demo, as I mentioned a little while back. Glad you guys enjoyed OnCon. And yes, JJ, I'm referring to the trivia slides. I wanted the trivia slides to look, nice, but it takes a little bit to, find an image, pull it in, reduce the contrast, put in the text, and then render out each of the images. Yeah, it's obviously it's not hours or anything, but it is a bit of a production to produce those slides. Plus, figuring out and finding the trivia to actually put in there. So. Something where if I sit down, it's still it takes a couple of minutes to do each individual slide. So that is the thing. It almost took a top slot with how the year came out too. I mean that was certainly a front runner for Game of the Year, GOTY as they say. So yeah, so full disclosure, I am pretty tired tonight. So I'm sure we'll have a great conversation as always, but yeah, I'm not raring to go on the conversational topics at the moment. My dander is not particularly up on any anime things. Neat to see some of the news stories for this week. Just some positive news, things along those lines. And so yeah, thank you, Spin. Yeah, I'm not feeling like exhausted. Actually, today it's funny. I got up and I had like a handful of things to do throughout the day, and I was like, I don't feel like doing anything. I wonder what's going on. And ended up spending most of the day kind of on the couch with a mug of tea or playing Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing has been a perfect game for me right now. Just relax. Any word on the summer cons yet? Yeah, it's we're still in sort of a holding pattern on a lot of those. I know the ones obviously coming up soon are out, and the delay of the Olympics, excuse me, has definitely cast a shadow over summer cons, but I don't think. Let me just double check. See if Otacon's made an announcement yet. Whoa, 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 whoa. What's going on here? That's not. Oh, I gotcha. Huh. 1 second. There we go. See if Otakon has a statement. Don't recall. I checked recently. Registration is still on. Still plan to go on as scheduled. Of course, that is July 31st, August 2nd. So that's pretty late in the summer for Otakon. So we'll see. That's the big one in my area. So it's what I'm kind of most concerned by. But who knows? And I think also we're kind of waiting on how things go over the next month or so, because hopefully we'll be kind of over the hump of the initial infections, and so we'll get a sense of kind of the trajectory of the virus. Not that it'll be, gone in a couple of months, but will things getting worse or better, basically. Talking more about the anime lineup this season, what anime you're going to watch this season. Well, I'm going to watch all of them, as usual. First episodes at least. But I unfortunately I don't have an opinion until I've watched them. I can't tell what's what's certain until I have a feel for them. And I don't think there's anything this season that I have a strong I have to watch this kind of vibe on, where I have previous history with the franchise or whatever. So the Tower of God, cool. I am gonna try to do the first episode thing probably as a Zoom call with some friends. Get everyone together and just watch things. Has anyone tried screen sharing Crunchyroll over Zoom with the audio and see how that works? See what the frame rate is on that? I'm curious. Wonder if it's acceptable. Obviously, it's not going to be 60 FPS, but hopefully it would be watchable. If not, we might just queue them up separately, and all watch together, but sort of synchronized that way. Yeah, Crunchyroll's weird style and not fair enough. Yeah, there's then you do videos over Zoom. Cool, how'd that go, Kaminoko? Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the whole Crunchyroll thing because there's that has some potential to really fund some unusual things, and to bring some good money into the industry. I have no idea. Hey, Josh. I have no idea how much money Crunchyroll is paying for that. Is this are they putting in $50,000, $100,000, $1,000,000? Crunchyroll can't have enough money to put massive amounts into any of these series. So I wonder what their slice of the pie is. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Audio issues are always a problem. And that is one of the nice things about just watching the first episode of everything is that you do kind of get past the marketing, which sometimes is really ineffective at describing things. Man, I'm sorry. I just heard sirens going a lot the past hour or so. I hope everything's okay. Just things are moving. Yeah, second season of No Guns Life, and unfortunately, I haven't finished the first season, so I'm not gonna start that until I finish season one. And I kind of got behind on this past season too, so I'm only about maybe halfway through this season at most. I need to catch up on some of these shows. Ezoken, I'm a few episodes from the end, but most of the others I blacked out because other stuff was happening. Not blacked out. What's the term? Paused, I guess. So hopefully, as things quiet down a little bit in my life, I can get back to all that stuff. But it's funny being on lockdown and with more time at home. Still not getting to that, but it's more getting other projects out of the way and nailed down, and trying to also trying to just get used to the new routine, right? Kind of weird. Oh yeah, Cells at Work season 2. That is one I will probably catch when that comes out. Again, hoping that gets a better budget this time. So yeah, should be fun. There's definitely stuff out there. It's the interesting thing about anime, about how a show can grab you out of nowhere. That you can have no interest in something, and then a friend's like, just watch this," and you're like, "Oh, I'm interested." Whereas if anything else about the show, like if you'd watched the opening credit sequence, if you'd heard about the premise, any of that kind of stuff, even a good description would have been like, "Nope, pass." But just certain things can draw you in, and really really pull you in. Made in Abyss was actually one of those for me, where I'd heard some recommendations for it, which is why I checked it out. But I'd seen some of the art style, and I was like, this looks beautiful. But I'm just not, honestly, the character designs for the main characters were just a little too chibi for me. I like chibi, designs, but putting that in that world was just kind of weird for me. But just the presentation of that, I was like, yep, watching this. And of course, it moves along. Yeah, that Eighth Sun description is not selling it. I was actually trying to give some anime recommendations for one of our students at work, and finding a hard time writing some of those descriptions. Ghost in the Shell, an elite group of anti-terrorist agents fight crime in a near future society, right? Like, okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah, seeing more just straight fantasy this season. Cool. Yeah. If it's for my daughter, from what, last season, like the season before the current season, was one of those. Just fantasy, which I know some folks arch their eyebrows at. No, that was the interesting thing, is that, so funnily enough, we've been doing a daily poll at work of just, what's your favorite pop singer or whatever. And one was, what was your favorite Disney movie? And somebody said Atlantis. And I replied and said, so if you like Atlantis, you might want to try Not Eating the Secret of Blue Water, which has a suspicious number of similarities to Atlantis, or Atlantis has a suspicious number of similarities to Nadia. And I said, but, either way, it's a fun companion piece. And this guy, reached out to say he saw that and went out and found Nadia episode 1 and watched it and was like, this is really, like, he just was just really into it. So thanked me for the recommendation and said, is there anything else you could recommend? As we got into that conversation, he said, I'm pretty open to anything. I like comedy, drama, kind of you name it. And I kind of rather get your, I'd rather get kind of a brain dump from you and then go from there. So I wrote down like 6 or 7 different works that are available streaming that he could check out. And I tried to be fairly broad of comedy, sci-fi, that kind of thing. So that was the thing. Yeah, you hear that, JJ. And unfortunately, I had quite a few, and that was one of his things. He said he has, he wasn't really interested in going out and buying a series. He wanted things that were all available streaming. And so I had several recommendations. I was like, oh, that's not out there yet. It's not available streaming. Most of Satoshi Kon's work is not available streaming. And I definitely wanted him to try out like My Name Actress or something like that, but ooh well. And he's watched a enough of a scattering of anime to understand the basics of the medium. To not be shocked if there's a panty shot or things like that. Well, like Nadia, right? Could I lend him a copy? Not exactly right now. That's kind of hard. I don't know how I'd do that. Yeah, kind of difficult to do that in these crazy times. Mm, good. That's all good to go. So yes, that was a fun experience. And he was very appreciative of the recommendations. So we'll see what folks can find. Um, you just recommend Elfen Lied. Have them start with Elfen Lied, and then you know, then they're good. Right? I actually put Evangelion on the list at the end, and I told him specifically, look, a lot of folks will recommend Evangelion, and it's this weird thing because it is like making fun, or it's dealing with a lot of tropes, but it's also like masterfully directed and edited. So I'm actually including this on this list to say people will recommend this to you, and don't feel like you need to jump to it next. It's kind of a not an advanced anime, but in some people do start with Evangelion, and I said it is in an odd place, Evangelion. So, if you feel like holding off on that for a little bit until you get more familiar with other shows or whatever. Um, Ever recommended Kiss Anime? No. I mean, I will tell people that if you want to watch a show, you know, um, you know, you can find it. Go and find it. Like I don't direct people to specific services like that, bootleg services, but I'm also like open to the fact that they exist. And so I don't tell people, don't go there, right? Like if they make that choice, that's fine. Um, and that's the weird thing, GA, is that lots of folks have Eva as their first anime, and that totally worked for them. But I have a difficult time like recommending that specifically to people to say this is definitely going to turn you on to anime. Like, it's weird. It's a weird one. Yeah. And I try not to like. And one of the reasons I don't like use the names of certain pirating services is because I don't want to sound like I'm kind of recommending them. I think if folks want to search, Future Diary streaming, they can do that and find a service, right? Like it doesn't really matter to me. Hey Ginger, good to see you. Again, I have I downloaded anime. I have torrents. I have fan subs. I understand that exists, and the folks have to do it. Um, yeah, but a lot of folks just don't have torrents set up. Like they that is completely foreign to them. So unfortunately, telling people, hey, you know, telling people to torrent is kind of like telling them, well, just don't pirate, right? It's like now I've got to do a whole bunch of extra work. So I totally agree though that torrenting is definitely a less morally questionable approach than doing the streaming sites that are like profiting off of it, whereas torrents are pretty much all free. Um, I have not watched Future Diary, but from what I've seen, it's I agree with you, Matt. I think Future Diary got popular, and attracted a lot of naysayers because it was popular. It had that whole weird thing where it's like this is popular, but it's not Miyazaki. Well, of course, it's not, right? Um, yeah, yeah, I totally hear that spin. Like I've mentioned before, I have a friend who I greatly respect who just has no interest in Lane. Um, Lane just completely turns her off. Um, so yeah, got to be aware of that. Different thing for different people. And we can recognize that people may, not be into something, and then, a few years later, they may stumble on something else that will get them into it, even though that one thing just turned them off at the time. That's fine. Yeah, Lane's definitely not for everyone. Lane's weird. Lane shouldn't be for everyone, right? Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's not a movie for everyone. But it is unquestionably a carefully crafted experience. And that's just the way that is, right? Yeah, exactly. Eva is, and you have to be in the right like kind of headspace for Eva. You have to be open to the experience Eva will give you, a kind of apocalyptic psychological experience. So you have to be, and some people are like, yeah, totally. Like I'm exploring this weird new medium, this animation. I've heard it's dark and it's serious and it's got stuff going on. What is this Eva thing? And so they're in for it. Others are like, this isn't Pokemon, right? Yeah. Right, and that's a great point, GA, is that there are a lot of folks who watched Eva when there wasn't a lot of other anime available, or where anime wasn't as widely distributed, right? Where the average 15-year-old, 20-year-old now who wants to get into anime has been exposed to anime a lot more than folks in the past. So that's that thing. Um, um, Yeah, true. And of course, it also depends on where you are as a person, right? If you're 14 and watching Evangelion, that will speak to you a lot more than if you're 40 years old. I have not watched Evangelion and have no plans to. Um, right, yeah, you want to kind of, ideally, like JJ says, you want to start, you know, easier. So something that's more approachable. Cowboy Bebop, Kenshin, Space Dandy. Although, I mean, Akira was a gateway drug for a long time. Although, granted, I mean, as dark and violent as that is, it's look at the Joker movie, right? Like it's basically that. Yeah, things change. Definitely, things evolve. Um, well, the third is fun, but I mean, you got to choose your Lupin there. If you point them to Lupin the Third Part One, they're gonna be like, "This looks terrible," which it doesn't a lot of the time. But those first few seasons can be rough. Um, so start with Cagliostro, Fumo Conspiracy, some of those things. And right, and that's the weird thing. Spin is that a lot of folks did, right? Like my generation, stereotypically got into anime through Akira, and I just but because it looks like Disney animation, right? Akira is a lot more approachable to somebody who's used to Western animation. It just looks a bit visual. What would be a show in this era for newcomers? Great question, Christian. Um, just off the top of my head, like I think Ascendance of a Bookworm would be a good starter anime. It's non-violent. It's cute, but not like overly kawaii cutesy. It's set in a medieval European fantasy setting. Um, and there's some basic world building, but it's not like too anime, right? There aren't a lot of like weird anime tropes of panty flashes or all that kind of stuff. So I think that would kind of that's a good one from the last year or so. Yeah, it's a great way of putting it. Kaminoko Akira is kind of an obligatory thing. You kind of have to watch Akira, whether you like it or not. Oh, Inspector, yeah, totally. Um, oh, totally. I mean, well, Miyazaki's cuts in pretty much anything are just so gorgeous. We are getting to that point where you can recognize it, where you can see a shot. There's a shot in Anne of Green Gables where I was like, I think that's a Miyazaki shot. That's cool. Um, let's see here. Other recent anime that would be good for newcomers. What about Doctor Stone? I've seen like none of Doctor Stone. And I know it's wacky, it's weird, it's very kind of invested in its own tropes, but it seems to have found something of an audience. I just don't know. Obviously, Demon Slayer was really really popular, but that's pretty heavy on Japanese culture. Um, Asteroid in Love. Oh yeah, yeah. Although Asteroid in Love is kind of is fairly moe, You know, it's cute girls hanging around chatting, which is not not inaccurate as what a lot of anime are. Um, it's interesting trying to find that balance between what is anime and trying to make something that is not so anime that it's off-putting. Right, like Lucky Star. I love Lucky Star, but it is very much aimed more at the otaku audience. Non-otaku can get it too, but I wouldn't like jump right. I wouldn't jump people right into Lucky Star because it's very anime in its presentation, in kind of the style of its humor, the kind of jokes it's making, that kind of thing. Konosuba, yeah. Vinland Saga, yeah, fair enough. That's a good choice, yeah. Right, yeah. Yasubi Asabase, and I've seen a few episodes of that, and I was like, oh, this is lovely. Like, I'm really enjoying the overall tone of this, but it's just not what your Western fan is generally going to be ready for. Like, I think Laid Back Camp, if you're going to show somebody a sort of a slice of life esque sort of moe show, I think Laid Back Camp would be a good one because it's about camping, right? And you can relate to the idea of going out and camping, and like there's not high drama, right, and necessarily involved in that. It's more about hanging out and enjoying the environment. So I'd probably point people in that direction if they want, again, something more like the modern moe tropes, as opposed to one of the sappy romance series. Um, I'll yeah. I mean, so that's another interesting question. Older anime that would appeal to modern fans, and I think Cardcaptor is absolutely one of them. Cardcaptor looks just gorgeous, and it's very approachable. They do a good job of making Sakura cute but capable, right? And of dancing around and playing with those sort of magical girl tropes without making it too sort of um, heavy reference, without making it, we're making a joke about this right now. Um, oh, totally, yeah. Eizouken is way too far for most. I would say Eizouken is too far for a lot of otaku. I have a few anime fans friends who are like, I couldn't get into Eizouken. I don't get it. Like, why would you spend time watching people make anime? I'm like, okay. Yeah, and you do have the Cardcaptor Clear Card series. Um, like I adore Eizouken with every atom of my being. But it is very, it's got a very specific target audience of otaku. Yeah, I think older anime for modern fans, obviously Bebop, Trigun, Outlaw Star, like you were saying before, would be a great pull. Um, Again, just very very approachable to the average person. I'd even throw like Dirty Pair into there, because yeah, it's cute girls in metal bikinis, but it is very obviously having fun with that idea, right? Like that is kind of the cover of the book stuff, but the actual content is much more approachable and understandable. Then yeah, I don't know, Tenchi Moyo maybe. Tenchi's pretty approachable, although again, you need somebody who's pretty open to space princesses and space pirates and giant starships made of wood. Ancient Majesty's Bride, good pull, very good pull, because it's all English. I think technically British. Well, not English. British myth. Yeah, British Isles, England, part of that. So yeah, absolutely. And as I recall, the TV series sort of de-emphasizes um, Chise's rather shocking introduction in the manga, where just some of the tropes they're invoking in the manga are a little bit, um, which are very intentional. But I'm glad the anime series kind of de-emphasized that somewhat. so it'll be a lot more approachable to folks. Yeah. Yeah, Trigger show. Yeah. You want to watch anime? Start with Darling in the Franxx. Gosh. Like, what is even going on here? Another great example where folks will say, "Oh, I love this show. You should watch it." It's like Darling in the Franxx is not aimed at a casual. It is operating on so many different levels um, of referencing back to classic anime and classic science fiction tropes and so forth. Yeah. Whew. Much like Gurren Lagann is another great example. Like that's a fun show, and again, I can see people getting into it, but oh my gosh, is that trading on super robot tropes and aim for the top and all that kind of stuff. And the cheesy mecha shows of the time. That if you're open to it, great fun. Otherwise, I watched Gunbuster 2 a while back, which is sort of Proto Trigger. It's basically the made by the team at Gainax that would end up forming Trigger. And yeah, I enjoyed it, but it is clearly made for people who are getting the joke. Yeah, Kill la Kill. I mean, oof. And Kill la Kill is probably the worst. Kill la Kill is the most trope heavy, most sort of you have to understand what they're making jokes about show that Trigger has ever done. References to like specific references to 70s live action series in that, and just like how they do. So one of the end credit sequence I think of Kill la Kill is a more or less shot for shot remake of a 70s live action girl with a killer yo-yo thing from the 70s. So there's a lot of weird references like that in Kill la Kill, and just the overall insane high school prison thing, student council, that whole thing. Sukuban Deka, exactly. Bubblegum Crisis, yeah. Yeah, we were having a great conversation about that in the Discord. That a great example of the difference between sort of classic anime or classic anime, especially like in the OVA era, versus more modern anime that's generally more TV era, is Bubblegum Crisis. The original Bubblegum Crisis OVA is very much just a lot of cool concepts all thrown together into one OVA. It's kind of experimental. It's visually interesting. A lot of crazy animation because that's what you're buying, right? You're buying something that is going to be hugely entertaining is the whole idea. Whereas the TV series, which came out, 15 years later, 20 years later, maybe 15 years later, is much more sort of plot driven. Very every episode is kind of building this big ending, and it's not as flashy, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to pull you along week by week, so you're following the story. You're wondering what's going to happen to the characters, and there's a lot more sort of character development in the TV series. One is not worse than the other. Just each one has different goals and different audiences and such. So you get different experiences out of that. And it's why people are nostalgic for the that era of like the 80s and early 90s where you had a lot of experimental OVAs and people really doing weird things because they could, because that market wanted that. Whereas these days we have a different market that's not just looking for different things, but it has to be pulled in different ways, right? Has to be excited by things different. The show The Teacher's Married to a Student. Are you talking about Please Teacher? Because there's probably a couple of them, now that I think about it. I have seen a good chunk of Please Teacher, and I was actually surprisingly impressed. Please Teacher was... so for those who, just to not freak folks out, slight spoiler alert, alien crash lands. She's actually a beautiful woman, hiding out as this beautiful woman, and she has to live. Yeah, Onagai Sensei, Please Teacher. And because of plot, she has to live in the same house with one of her students, who is this teenage boy, so they have to legally get married. Um, and he is of age in the prefecture in which they live to get married. Like it's legal. Um, but the thing is, the whole story is about how he has been very timid. No, not that one. This one, the guy's teacher. Okay, different thing. That's why I was like, different ones. Um, but so just to finish the thought, the boy has been just not really moving forward in his life, but he also has like a medical condition, and this new experience is kind of forcing him to move forward, to kind of make changes in his life. And he's very much a gentleman, right? Um, but I was impressed with how they did that. That it wasn't like, obviously there's a kind of an ecchi element to it, but it's more in the classic harem sense of like, I walk on somebody in the shower, as opposed to I'm perving on the girl all the time. Haven't heard of one. I don't recall the one where the guy is a teacher, but he's secretly married to the student. Um, Again, I'm sure I've heard that premise, but I don't recall like the show it was based on or the anime or whatever. Um, I mean, there's um, what's the one? Kodomo no Lotte, whatever. The one with the like the third grader who's constantly tormenting her teacher. I mean, other than certain anime that do not air on Crunchyroll. Sure, that's a thing. Um, Can I keep it a secret? Yeah, I again um, sounds vaguely familiar, but that's as far as I've gone. Oh yeah, what After the Rain? There was that one, but that was the convenience store thing. Um, and then there was what was the one with the guy? Strawberry 100% was the one where the guy has to teach at an all girls school and so has to dress up as a girl, and it actually turns out to like ha- speak a lot to gender politics. Weirdly, I think that was Strawberry 100%. Ichigo Mashimaro, maybe not. I think there's marshmallow in the title or strawberry, one of the two. Oh, cool! Last episode of After the Rain was not nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed After the Rain. Aria, yeah. So Aria is another good example of an anime where you kind of have to be in the right mood for it because it is not your typical sort of animation. Avatar: The Last Airbender, that is not. So getting folks into it. Thank you. I Me Strawberry Eggs. That was the one. Thank you. Aria is lovely, but it is a sort of slow slice of life kind of a story. So I think if somebody's into that, they will definitely find Aria interesting. Although the animation in Aria is just can be kind of rough at times. Just budgets were low at the time, unfortunately. I feel bad for that show. It deserves something better. Yeah, and then obviously you have exactly GA. It's what does one like? What are your preferences and likes? Interesting, yeah. That Aria is kind of a bridge anime between the old and the new. I can see that. Um, Bringing in the new kind of moe elements of cute girls, and kind of hanging out with cute girls, but also having a more experimental vibe, a more sci-fi sort of a vibe like you had in the 80s and 90s. I can see that totally. You hear that? this started. Good evening and welcome to the latest anime news for the week ending April 4th, 2020. Our first anime announcement goes out to all you classic shoujo fans. A new anime project has been announced for Animal Magical Girl series Tokyo Mew Mew. The new project has been titled Tokyo Mew New. That's right. Producer Pony Canyon's voice acting office is currently holding a general audition for the new actress of the main character, Ichigo Momomiya. And in addition to voicing the character in the new anime, the winner of the audition will also perform various idol activities like singing and dancing in character as Ichigo for the upcoming Tokyo Mew Mew New idol group. But you didn't see that one coming. Between the new anime project and the new voice actor idol group, Tokyo Mew Mew fans have a lot to look forward to, certainly, so yay. The original Tokyo Mew Mew manga was serialized from 2000 to 2003, so 20 years ago, with a 52-episode anime adaptation airing in 2002 and 2003. Next up is an interesting collaboration that was both announced and premiered this week. Saudi Arabian media company Manga Productions has collaborated with Toei Animation to create a new 13-episode anime series titled Future's Folktales. Now, the series made its debut on Japan's J-Tele channel. The story is set in capital city Riyadh in the year 2050 and features a grandmother telling various folk tales of the Arabian Peninsula to her 3 grandchildren. Really interesting concept there. Manga Productions and Toei began collaborating back in 2017 with the 25-minute short animation The Woodcutter's Treasure, which is also based on Saudi Arabian folklore. The two companies have also been working together on an animated film titled The Journey, which is reportedly completed and is set to premiere sometime this year. However, I'm sure COVID-19 is throwing a wrench in those plans. The Manga Productions company aims to create animation, comic, and video game projects to, quote, promote Saudi ideas and messages internationally, end quote. Its parent foundation previously signed a memorandum with Japan's Digital Hollywood University in October 2017 to train Saudi designers and programmers in creating animation and games. So trying to get more of that stuff out there in the world and the great Japanese animation skill more broadly, which is always a good thing. Japan's public broadcasting channel NHK announced this week that an anime is in the work for Aiko Koyama's Maiko-san Chi no Makanai-san, or Makanai in the Maiko Lodge. The manga has been serialized in Shogakukan's Weekly Shonen Sunday magazine since 2016, and recently won Best Shonen Manga in January's 65th Shogakukan Manga Awards. That's shonen? Really? It's set in Kyoto's Hanamachi Geisha Quarter and follows Kyo, a girl who works as a cook in a geisha lodge. That has me intrigued. Grand Blue Fantasy, meanwhile, has gotten its normal anime adaptation, so what's next? Yep, the cute gag version. The franchise's official Twitter account announced this week its official 4-panel gag manga, Guraburu, is inspiring its own anime this year. The manga has been serialized irregularly within the game itself, and Kadokawa published the 8th print volume of the manga back in November, so sounds like plenty of material to adapt. The Grand Blue Fantasy role-playing game originally debuted for mobile devices and web browsers back in 2014. The anime began in 2017, with its second season airing in October of 2019. So, yeah, it's out there. People are watching it and enjoying it. Last up in anime announcements this week, comedian and voice actor project Get Up Get Live has announced it will be also have a short anime. The voice actor cross 2D entertainer project centers on several duos of aspiring comedians who all gather at a comedy talent agency, and the story is about their rivalries, disappointments, and obstacles to overcome on their journey to becoming Japan's greatest entertainers. It's sports anime for comedy. The group had its first live event in May, with a second in February, and a third planned for September of this year. Here's hoping that actually goes through. Next up is an announcement with some interesting potential for future anime production. Always like to cover a little bit of business here. Aniplex announced this week it has founded its own subsidiary company focused on 3D CG animation. The new company, called Boundary, will, quote, take on a challenge of transcending the boundaries of 3D CG and cell animation, end quote. We'll have to see and look forward to seeing how that turns out. I've just got to say they have a big competitor in Orange. Boundary's main office is in the Sony Music Entertainment Building in Tokyo's Chiyoda Ward, while its production studios in Nakano Ward, where many other anime studios are also based. Aniplex's existing subsidiaries include A1 Pictures, the anime studio, Quattro A game company, and several distribution companies all around the world. It's Aniplex, like we all know. Meanwhile, COVID-19 related news we will touch on this week does affect the world of manga and other print materials. Distributor Yen Press announced on Friday it is delaying the release of several of its manga and light novels, unsurprisingly. The volume scheduled for release in April will ship out as planned, but volumes that were scheduled to release between May and August will now be distributed through September instead. So it sounds like more or less a 1 month pushback. Yen Press is also refraining from announcing their September releases yet, and they're reducing any planned releases for the coming months. Again, unsurprisingly, if you're looking for that. Seoul Press also announced this week that they have halted all physical production for the time being. Dark Horse Comics has also reduced its releases for the coming months and will allow the return of periodicals up to 90 days past the on-sale date. I think it's typically 30 days for most publishers. Viz, on the other hand, said it plans to continue to print and ship manga and other book releases through Simon & Schuster to bookstores and online retailers. So I guess they can still keep doing that. I don't know. So if you're keeping up with any current manga, make sure to check with your distributor and be prepared that you might have to wait a few months for the next volume or chapter in the story. FYI, but that is, the way things are. Bit of positive press from the coronavirus pandemic. A mystery man, identifying himself as Demon Slayer character Inosuke Hashibara, yes, that's the guy in the boarhead mask, has generously donated supplies to a nursing school in the Iwate prefecture. The vigilante donated 100 masks as well as alcohol disinfectant after hearing about the shortages from staff at the school. When asked about his identity, the man handed over a letter that simply read, quote, I am grateful to all doctors every day. Thank you very much. Signed, Inosuke Hashibara, end quote. The school's vice principal, Nobuko Ito, was surprised but also very grateful. She said, quote, I heard it's a character who makes a point of helping the weak. I'm grateful that he came to us with those feelings in mind, end quote. Very politic response there. Very good. Reminds me of the Tiger Mask story from a few years ago. Now, the Tokyo Olympics may have been delayed a year, but the Tokyo 2020 branding is still going strong. The game's official Gunpla models were revealed this week, with one representing the Olympic Games and the other the Paralympic Games. The two models will come out in June, and in addition to the Olympic color schemes, will include a set of Tokyo 2020 seals, as in, I assume, like letters, not the that can be attached to the right shoulder, torso, and pedestal. They'll retail for only 1,200 yen a piece, which is about $11 US right now. So if you're looking for some Olympic merchandise that's both affordable and downright nerdy, keep your eyes out for these. That's the news for this week. Thanks for watching. Is it there? It's there! And that's the thing, is that I wonder if this new CG company is kind of trying to compete with Orange, which is undoubtedly like the one, right? The one really pushing forward 3D CG as a new hybrid medium. Hobby Time is Olympic Gunpla. I like that idea. Actually, Hobby Time might be D&D or role playing or something. I'm really jazzed at the idea of running a role playing campaign with some of you all in this shared world that we've been working on. If you were at OnCon or watched some of the streams, which I'll get to in a second, we did a world building session on Saturday and came up with a really cool world, which we've been adding to over the course of the week. And so I will connect with folks probably on the Discord and sort of reach out to folks who may be interested in joining for a virtual role playing session in that world. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Just FYI, we had a snafu with the video on OnCon. So if you want to go back and watch any of the OnCon material, be aware that we had to re-upload Saturday. The video got blocked because of some of the video shown during the Gynax panel. So it's been re-uploaded in 3 segments, Saturday parts 1 and 2 and 3. So if you're looking for that, just be aware that you're going to have to go back and find those individual segments and watch those. Just FYI. I'd like to see Brent sing a song from Newsies to go with his hat. I cannot sing, so that would be a problem. Next time we do a charity auction, I will auction off me singing for charity. That'll be like some kind of a charity reward tier, is me singing a song from Newsies to go with his hat. I've seen Newsies. I watched Newsies. I think in theaters. Maybe. I remember seeing it like when it came out. I'm going back and forth if we do an RPG campaign. There's the obvious middle ground between do we choose a system like Whispering Road or Ryutama that's designed for sort of non-traditional play, or do we choose something like D&D that is just very well known and is just easier for everyone to pick up in general. Yeah, we'll see, Jay. I'm totally open to doing more world building stuff. How did the fundraiser do at the con? We raised $403 for COVID-19 research. Thank you all very much. So that donation went through this week. It went to the World Health Organization's COVID-19 research. So congratulations to everybody. Yay! Thank you all very much. Yay! It's wonderful. Appreciate it. So that was great. And I dropped all of your stuff in the mail today. So all of the winnings went off in the mail today. I think I may have one that didn't go out because I didn't get the address, or wrote the address down wrong or something. I was like, oh, can't send that one out. But in general, that is the. So if there's any issue, I will reach out to you to find out. But that is the plan. So yes, thank you all very much for all of that. Unfortunately, I think next time it's going to have to be domestic only, because shipping costs internationally did turn out to be, very high. I'm fine to changing it to the donation box. That's funny. I'm happy to do it this time. Yeah, I budgeted money to send anything out, anywhere this time around. But unfortunately, next time it'll probably have to be domestic only for a lot of things. Spin's got a deep question coming. Very deep question. Prepare yourselves. I'm preparing myself. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. When the fear has gone, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Is it more painful to be the one who waits, or the one who makes other people wait? Ooh. That's deep. It depends on your empathy. Right? I know a lot of folks who would not care whether people wait. I think it should be more painful to be the one who makes others wait. But unfortunately, a lot of folks are not that evolved. Shut your mouth, JJ. Yeah, no, it's that gets into questions of how evolved are you, how serious are you. To that point, there's an interesting thing, and I've thought about ways of integrating this into geek archaeology, but there's no way of expressing this or diving into this without sounding like you're incredibly elitist. There's a scene early on in Dune where the main character goes in to be tested with the Gom Jabbar, and it's a pretty simple test. He puts his hand into a box, and a poison needle is put in his neck, and he's informed that the box contains pain, and that he must keep his hand in the box and endure the pain, because if he draws his hand out, the poison needle will go into his neck and he will die. And so he has to sit there and endure this pain, and he endures it a very long time. It's an open question whether there's actually any poison in the needle, because it's an endurance test. And he asked the question, what is this for? And the answer is, it is to see if you are... Wait. Wait a minute. There's something that I believe, actually, about people. All right. Um, it's a bit more simplified in the movie, to be fair. There we go. Um, the itch became the faintest burning. Why are you doing this? He demanded. To determine if you're human, be silent. And it continues from there. Um, yeah. So basically, it's to see if he's human. And the explanation is that there are lots of people, but not everyone is human. A human is someone who can withstand discomfort and withstand pain in pursuit of something else. Somebody who can go through great trials with the understanding that there is a greater goal in life. Not even with the expectation that those trials will ever end, quite importantly. It is somebody who is willing to say, I will live with this pain for the rest of my life, if it's important enough. Right? That is a human. And there are many, individuals with 2 legs and 2 arms and so forth and so on who cannot do that. And the test of the Gom Jabbar is to see if you are, if you qualify. And I do feel that there is something to that. That just because you are born does not mean you have the full qualities that we desire, that we look forward to in humanity. It doesn't mean you're you should die or anything. It just means you haven't gotten there yet, right? You haven't gotten past your issues. Um, but I do think there is something to be said for distinguishing between the people who are just going through life, avoiding pain as much as possible, avoiding discomfort, right? Finding the easiest path through, as opposed to those who are willing to say what's important, what's helpful, what's good, and enduring what's necessary to get there. Right, and there are some Buddhist elements to it as well. Buddhism is more about transcending suffering. This is more about um, feeling the pain. Although there's also some of that in Buddhism as well. But this is an interesting sort of parallel but different path, I think, than the traditional Buddhist teaching. And again, this sounds very elitist, that I'm human and you're not. But I do think it is worthwhile to recognize that we do not all possess the attributes that we all hope that we all have, right? Of empathy, of forgiveness, of kindness. It's not there for everybody. And of course, we all have times when the best of us have times when we dip down, and we don't do that either. Hello, Marcel Proust. How is your Madeline? Yeah, well, and there's a lot of Judeo-Christian elements in Dune. I mean, it's about a guy who comes to save a bunch of people in the desert, right? Like, where's the Christ figure there? It's just all over the place. Dune's a fascinating book. There's a if you want a if you like Lane, if you like Boogie Pop, if you like those complex head scratchers with Ghost in the Shell, those sorts of things. Dune is kind of like that. It is much more of an action story, but it has all the layers that you will find in that stuff. So I've always wanted to see a Dune anime. I think it is the best medium for Dune because Dune is very anime-like in that sense. Whereas there's a lot going on in this. Patrick Stewart did a fine job as Gurney Halleck. A lot of performances in that movie, a lot of actor choices in that movie that I think weren't the best in terms of getting across different aspects of the book. But I think Patrick Stewart was a pretty good Gurney Halleck. He was pretty close. You know, the others were just kind of. I can see what they were going for, but it's like not really weird. Yeah. Oh yeah. I would fund a Dune anime, right? If I had the money, that would be the first anime I'd make is an adaptation of Dune. I think. Personally. Are there any titles that you would love to see an anime adaptation of? Ender's Game, yeah, totally. Yeah, Ender's Game is just asking to be made as anime, right? Child actors are just so hard to find. That sort of dark twist at the end is just hard to do right. The sci-fi aspects are expensive. Ender's Game just. I'm surprised Ender's Game wasn't originally a light novel or something. It just, Ender's Game is anime. I've read a book about East Asian culture. Sure. Bunch of them. Journey to Strange Land. Ooh, yeah. I made the mistake of reading the unabridged version of that, and later discovered that was a really bad version. And I couldn't finish it, so I have to go back and like read the original version, get a sense of it. But yeah, Starship Troopers. I mean, there was an anime of Starship Troopers, in fairness, but yeah, I think that somebody could adapt that because it was a very loose adaptation. I'd love to see that done as an anime. Call of Cthulhu, yeah, that'd be interesting to compile a list of sort of Cthulhuoid anime, and not like Narthothan, Narthosan, whatever that it was. Like that's cute. I'm nothing against it, but that's not really what I mean when I mean Cthulhuoid. Yeah, Lovecraft. A lot of Lovecraft in Kanaka's work, but it's very hidden. Hmm. Yeah, and anime can do creeping horror really well. Well, tentacle monsters are kind of a thing in anime. So, you can definitely get that across. And anime is generally good about being able to do weird horror that you don't actually see, right? And suggesting horrific elements as opposed to like showing it on screen necessarily. Um, yeah, like Gankatsuo is excuse me, very wide adaptation of the original novel. Definitely took some liberties, but I'd love to see like a straight like Count of Monte Cristo, Three Musketeers style anime. I think that'd be really cool. Unfortunately, I think it would have to have been made like 30 years ago. It'd have to be like a World Masterpiece Theater show to get folks who could actually execute these sword fights. I think we've lost a lot of that skill these days, unfortunately. Yeah. Nyako-san is not exactly Mountains of Madness. Um, for those fantasy fans, I'd love to see Wheel of Time as an anime. Granted, you'd need about 1,000 episodes, but that again just kind of felt like an anime world, anime fantasy world. You know, complex politics and a lot of powered teenagers, that kind of stuff. That would be funny. Um, mm, yeah. Well, Lovecraft was um, Lovecraft was excellent at doing something that very few people can do, and did it at a time when very few people were doing it, which is that getting across that sense of impending doom. Um, Not a lot happens in a Lovecraft story. It is I'm exploring something to find out this thing at the end, and I keep feeling like something bad's gonna happen to me, and that's like the entire story, and yet somehow it's still engaging. It's it is an amazing talent. There are other things about Lovecraft that are let's just say problematic. I'm not saying everything about Lovecraft is perfect, but his writing is absolutely engaging. It pulls you in, right? Um, yeah, you think that's been. Um, there's absolutely some Lovecraftian stuff in a lot of anime. Well, and also, I mean, there's a strong trend in Japanese fiction in general, and especially Japanese like pop fiction, for weird, strange things going on, for that kind of magical realism kind of thing that is that also has kind of a crossover with Lovecraft. There's a lot of things where this woman is suddenly pregnant out of nowhere, and why is that? What's going on? Um, just weird things happening as a result of some weird cosmic misstep. And that's been going on for decades. That goes back to early 20th century in Japanese, or like mid 20th century in Japanese literature. So I think that kind of helps to make Lovecraft kind of fit rather well in that. Death Race, yeah. I mean, Redline is basically Death Race, right? Um, yeah, and you could adapt the original short story too. So kind of go back to the original short story. Although the movie was pretty faithful to the short story. Um, anyone likes Lovecraft, there's a live action movie called Black Site, which is available on Prime Video last time I checked, which is set at a secret government facility where they are containing and sort of sending off into the universe the Cthulhuoid mythos gods. So they're capturing each of the gods, containing it in a vessel, and then blasting it off into another universe through arcane rituals. And so it's basically Cthulhuoid mythos as kind of an indie action movie with the weird creeping horror kind of a thing. So if you like Cthulhu stuff, Black Site is very much that. Black Site as in place. Pretty well done. Again, not huge budget, but they do a good job with what they have. I'm thinking of doing a review of that at some point for Geek Archaeology. I think it's a nice crossover with the kind of stuff we like. I've not read a book called Epic. Ooh, gotcha, JJ. That'll do it. When you play some Call of Cthulhu and then it appears in your dreams, you have been touched by the elder gods. And unfortunately, Lovecraft, one of the problems these days is that Lovecraft has been so heavily referenced in geek culture that people come to it with certain expectations. Cthulhu is this cutesified little octopus man, which really is not what Lovecraft is all about. I think Lovecraft would turn over in his grave if he saw that stuff. So to speak, that doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. Lovecraft has been heavily commoditized in the modern world, and that's really not the sense you get from those books. Again, it is a thing where if you see it, it drives you instantly mad in their fiction. So it's not, little green man with tentacle on his face. And I get it, folks. Want to make their little plushies, whatever, but it does tend to change folks' views on that stuff. But yeah, I'd love to see more like historical stuff in anime. To be honest, I'd love to see like Japanese historical stuff. We don't get a huge amount of like early Japanese history in anime, like pre-Edo period, pre-Tokugawa era, or like early Tokugawa era. We get a fair amount of of stuff about. It's the weird thing. We've seen a lot of Oda Nobunaga in various things, but when was the last time we had like a straight adaptation of Oda Nobunaga? Right? It's not a comedy. It's just Oda doing his thing. Yeah, imagine Lovecraft seeing a Cthulhu plushie. I mean, he'd probably think, "Ooh, I could make money. I could actually like not um, be able to pay my rent." Yeah, totally. I mean, I would love to see more historical events rendered in anime. I think that'd be really interesting. Um, and you could totally do like maybe a twist on it. So it's time cops or whatever. It'd be cool to see more like real history in anime. Anime about sushi, totally. Surprised? I mean, obviously there's like food wars and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't think is there like a sushi anime, an anime literally about like serving sushi? I feel like there's got to be. And we do have a few like historical like like vagabond things. Like in manga, right? Like we have vagabond in manga. Like let's see that. I don't know. We do have Golden Kamui, um, but that's like Meiji era, like early Meiji era, I think. That's weird, very weird. Is your anime can still hold their ground against today's anime? Oh sure. Again, it all depends on what you're looking for. If you want intense psychological, questions about what it means to be human, there's not a lot in modern anime that can hold a candle to Ghost in the Shell, the original movie. Um, yeah, the Russia-Japanese War would be cool. Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, I mean, granted, that's very sensitive. You know, anytime any Japanese production touches on like early 20th century Japanese military conflicts, you know, the protests will start now, right? So, got to do that. Yeah, I'm surprised there are no sushi shows. Sushi shows. Hmm. Like a Jiro Dreams of Sushi kind of an anime. I think that'd be cool. Yeah, Ramen Fighter Miki. I mean, right there for ramen, but don't know why that is. I wonder if there's like some weird like there's some Japanese sushi association. That's hard to say. That like insists on approving those things and is like famously annoyed at any attempt to make adaptations or any public broadcast things about that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that you're still gonna get. Well, that's a good point. Yeah, exactly. Rum makes talking hard. Talking makes talking hard. Yeah, I wonder if current Japanese politics around um, um, opening up to the militarism and all that stuff would also touch on those things. People would be like, "Oh, they're making a show about when they were imperialist. Clearly, they want to take over the world again." I don't know. Yeah, exactly, Matt. Just look at they named a character after a scientist in World War II, and that caused a huge backlash. And again, obviously 1905 is further in the past, but it's not. I mean, 1940s. That's 80 years ago. 1905 is just 120 years later, so it's you know only 50% further back in time than World War II. It's weird to think about. So yeah, I guess we're 70 years from World War II ish, 75. Um, yeah, Kenshin, but again, Kenshin is 1870s, right? Um, and I think also Kenshin is pacifist. That series is about Japan should be pacifist. So I wonder if that colors it too. I don't know. Um, Not sure. All right. So again, the fact that I cannot pronounce words indicates we are probably at a good stopping point. As always, thank you all so much for the discussion and a big morale booster for me to know about you all. Um, and as always, really enjoy this. So yeah, I will reach out about doing some kind of anime or some kind of a role playing thing. Um, and otherwise, we'll just continue on with the pattern. As I mentioned before, I am planning on doing more on-cons, probably mini on-cons every couple of months, like a one-day event. And then something else moving on from there. And then maybe a big con once a year. I really like that idea. So we'll see. But yeah, thank you all so much. Yeah, I think that will do it. Oh, I keep forgetting. We should do something. Decided to add a little something. What did we learn on the show tonight, Brent? What did we learn, everyone? What have we learned tonight? We learned that YouTube will block you for showing a minute of Gynax video without audio. We've learned there's no sushi anime, which is very odd. We've learned that COVID free is the way to be, certainly. We've learned what magical realism is. We've learned that the Japanese really like Lovecraft. We learned that Dune deserves an anime, certainly true. And I've learned that I should cut back on the amount of rum that I put in my tea. That'll do it. Thank you all very much. Till next time, watch more anime.